everyone. This is Raution Jaiswal, CEO and co-founder of InsuredMine, and you are listening to the 30-minute with Insurance CEO podcast, the show that is designed to inspire growth and impact so you can create the best version of your agency by learning from the leading insurance agency CEOs. Today, we are talking to Carrie Ryan. She is the CEO and part owner of the agency, and it's a privilege to hear from her. As I say, it's not very common to have a female CEO running insurance agency, and so I'm very proud of what she's doing. And I want to welcome her and welcome Gary today. And let's start by hearing a little bit about you before we jump right in.
Thank you, Raution. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it. A little bit about me. I am fourth generation. I work for a family-owned business. We began our agency way before my time in 1876.
Wow.
And yes, my great-grandfather had a little something to do with that. And throughout the time, it was worked hard to keep it within the family business. When my time was up, I started when I was about 19 years old here in the claims department, and
Wow.
probably sat in every seat of the office since then. A little bit rusty on the benefit side as far as the life and health, but I've even sat in the accounting seat, which is not a fun time for me. But so I've been here for 23 years. I have gone and taken little bits of college where I needed it, but never actually graduated with a degree. But I did go on to some risk management courses and completed my CIC designation. And now I sit as the fourth generation owner of Hanson and Ryan.
Interesting. Welcome. Well, thank you for this elaborate and pretty long history of generations of insurance agents. It's interesting. You are the third guest that I'm interviewing, and both guys before you that I interviewed are second generation. So there is something, I don't know if I'm picking it deliberately or it is. And we were just talking this morning about in my other podcast interview, that there is something about the second generation and the generations after, which I think you guys have been able to take that pass that baton on, and you guys are doing it bigger and better. And I think there is that learning which I would like to unpack during this next 30 minutes and hear more. But let's start with, as I think you grew up insurance all around you. So let me ask you, what if not insurance would have been your preference?
Well, growing up, I like to believe that I was going to be a high school English teacher. I
Wow.
like reading, I like writing. I think AI has taken a lot of my job away from me lately, but
Uh,
I do like inspiring as well. So I think in that time, that's what I imagined myself being. If I tried to step foot in a school now, I don't think I would pick the same choice.
uh,
But at the same time, I did enjoy it, and again, I do enjoy teaching and mentoring. So I think that has to do with anything in life, and hopefully, I use those
Interesting. And
tools.
as you said, you started early, like at the age of 19. People don't even know what they want to do at that age, and you already started your career.
Yeah, I
So
didn't know
what?
either.
Uh, well, but so that's my question. What got you like, hey, just because it's family business, so let's get your feet wet, or what was it?
I was actually going to school for teaching. Right before this career, I was working at a daycare, and I was assisting in preschool teaching. And at that time, my father asked me to join the family business. I was sick often, being around little kids,
Yeah.
and I was paid, the minimum at that time. And he thought that I could possibly grow. And he also had a little bit of a void here. I work with my brother. Now I work with my sister as well, but we have all different personalities. And he thought that maybe a balance of my brother's personality with my own would be a good
Ah,
as in the agency. So he asked me if I would give it a try. So I did put everything on hold, and I agreed to work with him as long as I was able to quit without resentment. And he agreed as long as he could fire me without resentment. So from that point, I started in the claims department assisting another woman who was a wonderful mentor to myself. And she decided that she was going on pregnancy leave probably about 6 months earlier than she was supposed to. And I was thrown into the position to basically learn from the ground up why we sell insurance. And I think that was the greatest foundation I can ever have hoped for. because I understood why the coverage is necessary. Being on the recipient end of a call of explaining when somebody gets into a car accident, or if something's stolen, or if a house burns down, what's covered, how it's covered, and how your policy reacts. That was an important building block, I think, to be
Interesting.
able to understand
We'll
the why.
come back to a lot of insurance, but before that, one basic question just to understand your agency. Talk a little bit about agency. How big is it? How many people? Where you guys are based? What line of business? Your premium size, and anything you can share.
So our agency right now, we're at 33 employees. We encompass all areas. We have a commercial lines, which is our largest sector. We have a personal line sector, and we also have a benefits. It's a department, but it's also a separate company owned by our agency. The commercial lines is probably about 70%, and then the other two departments are pretty split evenly. We are located about 20 minutes outside of New York City. We're in northern New Jersey, hence the accent. We say Taylor ham, not pork roll, so don't mistaken us for southern Jersey.
Ah.
But we do have some challenges, being so close to the city environment as well.
hmm Do you see it's more advantageous, or it's just a little bit out of the city league kind of?
So advantages, meaning there's a lot of people here. So there's a lot of businesses, a lot of potential clients, a lot of ways that we can assist and help. But as far as disadvantages, is we have a lot of crazy laws, a lot of restrictions, a lot of legal action.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
it's expensive for insurance here.
yeah. Yep. Awesome. All right. Now let's talk a little bit about you. So as you said, your siblings are with you working. So are you guys still doing it all together, or some of them decided to go their own way, or what is it?
So about, I want to say, I keep saying 5 years ago, but it's about 6 years ago. My sister and I decided to purchase the agency from our father.
Good
He
for
was ready
you.
for retirement. Our brother does have minority ownership, and he owns the building along with our father. And so we decided to step up and take the
Wow.
reins, pay a
Wow.
lot of money
Yeah.
consistently
Yeah.
still, to own an insurance agency. We were ready. We were able to, before that time, we did a lot of digging and assessing, and we were able to get the agency where we needed it to be to feel comfortable in our investment.
So, what would you say has been your biggest challenge growing it in this last 6 years?
Whew. So I think it was, instead of purchasing or building an agency from the ground up, we were looking through an agency that was built from 1876. I'm not
Yep.
saying that everything we touched was from 1876. It's evolved since then, but there was a lot of things that were stale, overlooked. A lot of what our previous generation was built off of was handshakes. So there was a lot of contracts that needed to be done, a lot of revamping as far as accounting, our 401k, all that nitty gritty things that are behind the business, not the actual insurance. The good part is we did really have a good set of staff members. We have really strong employees, and we're not the only family involved in our agency. We have a couple other family members that are all
Nice.
related, so that made it a little bit easier. Um, but that was probably at that time the most difficult. I know that you mentioned before too, being a woman in the industry. It's a little bit tough to be in a management position, let alone an ownership position. So even a lot of the old mentality when carriers come in or vendors come in, they keep looking to speak to the owner, and they get surprised when it's my sister or myself who comes to the door.
Yep.
But besides that, the paperwork and really trying to update the agency to a level where we felt comfortable, then we had a lot of different challenges that kind of followed. Once we got all of the paperwork done, COVID happened. So navigating an environment that nobody has ever navigated in our industry was fun
Mm-hmm.
and interesting and not so fun at the same time.
Yep.
Uh,
Yep.
but also a great learning. I mean,
Yeah.
our agency again was so old that it's been through the depression, and it's been through other challenges. It's been through, I mean, the 9/11 and other things that I've actually been here for.
Yeah.
So,
Well, yeah. Speaking of which, you guys were close to that, in fact. So yeah. Wow. So
yes.
talk to me a little bit about, so yes, it's stereotyping is very easy, hey, it's as they said, as you said, that they look for the owner when they talk to you. And talk to me about, how do you felt on these situations, and what have you done to condition yourself, and what have you done to, condition others, hey, dude, I'm the one.
I think it's more of education and understanding. So a lot of times I try to stay up on topics. I read. I know a lot of the background of our carriers, a lot of our vendors, a lot of the industry. I get involved. If there is an agency counsel for one of our insurance carriers and they ask to be, have if they ask for me to have a seat on their board, I do take any one of those opportunities, just so I'm able to at least declare a voice and gain a little bit more respect. And then again, I mean, just knowledge of a company when you're able to understand where they're coming from and a little bit about their company and be able to answer the questions intelligently and and accurately is where
Yeah,
you
so
the
your
respect.
point is, if you command the knowledge and the know-how, the respect comes because of, being in that position of knowledge and
Exactly. I think
strength.
I no matter what sex I'm in, I think that earning a respect is something that it's something that's necessary. So it
Yeah,
doesn't matter what position, what age you are, what race, and what sex you are. I think that being able to earn that respect factor, it's going to be a
yeah.
challenge no matter what. And if it's a little bit more of a challenge because of any of those, then we're up for it.
Well, glad to hear that. You stood strongly to that, and hey, here you are. Thank you. So let's from the business side, let's bring that a little bit into the personal side of, so what has been as the last 6 years, as you said, so much happened. COVID happened, all of this. Personally, what has been your biggest challenge, and how that has helped you evolve as a person?
Whew. Personal challenges. I mean, I am also. I mean, my number one job before being an owner of an agency is I have two children.
There you
So
go. Yeah.
I'm married. I have two children. So I have other jobs that were a little bit more of a challenge in that environment. So I believe personally, the biggest thing was just, I mean, making sure that my children understand work ethic. They understand the respect factor. Learning how to be good people. Again, my daughters they're turning into their teenagers, so I'm trying to navigate that
Well,
as
good
well.
luck managing that, right?
But so I think that my biggest challenge is them, just making sure that I raise good people,
Yeah, yeah.
and I navigate them the same way as I navigate business sometimes. Like I would never ask them to do something I wouldn't do myself. I take some challenges. I cross that boundary of comfort. So a lot of
Yeah.
the things that I do in my personal life, I do in my business life as well. But that's definitely my biggest challenge is my children.
Yeah. Well, yes. How would you say? So, does this being an agency owner definitely puts a lot of responsibility on you? But does that also, because it's a business that you manage, you control, gives you the flexibility to have that balance at home, or be able to go home at time, or go watch your kids perform, or if they're playing, go to their soccer fields or whatever games they are playing. So do you are you able to balance all of that because you are an agency owner?
So I am. It doesn't come without a price. I get, my husband points it out often. So I am. I am able to leave. My kids now go to private school. I'm able to leave to pick them up. They don't have a busing service. I go to every single sporting event that I possibly can. Anything that they're involved in, I am the Uber driver. I am the
Yeah.
biggest fan. But at the same time, when they are going to bed or they're watching their favorite show, I miss out and I do, go back on the computer. I catch up. I'm putting in a full 7 to 10 hours a day, and whether
Wow.
it's during the working hours or not. During a family vacation last week, I was on a council for 3 hours of my Wednesday, and for the rest of the time, I had to do some things that involved me sitting in front of a computer.
Yeah.
So it's a balance.
It's
I
about,
think they
yeah, yeah.
understand it,
Yeah.
but it is a sacrifice as well.
All right. So, aspiring CEOs or small agency CEOs who look up to you, what would you advise to them as how to get there. It's a personal journey, it's a professional journey, and as you have been into this doing almost 2 decades, so what would be your advice? How do you get there?
Oh, so when I first came into the industry, like I said, I was hitting 19 years old. I was also the daughter of the CEO at the time. And I was working with an age generation that was a lot older than myself. So a lot of times when I asked them questions, they pointed at me and told me to read policies. And I did just that. And I
Wow.
think that doing the dirty work, and putting yourself in everybody's shoes, understanding each person's position, and what they do in their role is probably the most important thing that an agency owner can do. I was just on a council for one of our carriers last week, and everything that I was able to translate to them was a personal experience. I didn't have to ask my employees' feedback, because I do get involved in way too much in the agency. But I also think it's an important journey. And every time we do hire an employee, they sit next to every single position in this company, so they understand how the wheels work,
Yeah.
and how
Wow.
the actual company operates. Not only how we make money, but how somebody's day is. If you pass somebody's desk, I think it's important to understand what they go through on a daily basis, to understand how you can approach them, when's a good time to approach them. And I think that's the most considerate thing you could do as an agency owner. Understand what everybody's job, what it involves, what the expectations are, but also how their days are. And I would encourage every, I guess, CEO and future CEO to sit in
Mhm.
every position, sit in every role, and understand how a business works to be able to properly navigate, and communicate.
Oh, interestingly, you kind of, without saying it, kind of alluding to, the people, the process, and the technology, how all those three comes together. So talk to me about that at your organization. How are you blending these three things together?
Oh, so ironic. It's been a journey. So through my time here, again, it's been a couple of decades. So uh, technology was always one of those tougher selling points.
Yeah.
On top of that, you have different carriers, you have different forms, but the people have been different generations throughout the whole time that I've been here. So I've had to train a 63-year-old the same day I'm training a 23-year-old. Some take technology as a challenge, the other ones take it with stride, and
No.
they take insurance as a challenge. So I think we try to be transparent, with our employees every year, about what we're trying to accomplish, what our goals are, what we've achieved in the last year, and how we want to set ourselves forward in the future. And we do warn them of things that we're going to take chances on, or technology that we might be investing in. And I think they're to the point this time, that if we're not working on something new or making a change or taking a stride, they get nervous. They're like, why is everything kind of staying still for a while? So they're always like waiting for us to keep going. So I think out of a lot of different agencies, we're pretty good at evolving. If we weren't, then I think we'd have a big problem this day and age. There's so much technology, and it's coming really, really fast, that if our agency was scared of it and every employee was scared of it, then we'd have a serious issue, taking steps in the right direction. So
Okay.
I think by being forthcoming, working with everybody, being transparent, and not not keeping it a secret and then unleashing it is probably
Mm.
the best way that we've taken things, in that aspect.
And what do you guys do in terms, again, as you said, I'm sure there are some policies written in 1800s. Um, are you guys revamping all your processes to our policies of the agency to, hey, how can I step up my customer experience? So this is helping us get to that, being that uh, special agency of the around the block.
We are constantly doing that. We do it internally. I mean, we have a great payroll system that gives us the ability to do surveys within the agency. So, as far as our employee experience, we're able to do surveys and understand what everybody wants there. So, starting off with the foundation of keeping employees happy, then then that escalates into having good customer service.
Sure.
After that, we try to limit meetings, but unfortunately, it's something that has to happen often, to keep moving forward. So we try to consistently have effective meetings at least every other week
Hmm.
with processes. We're always revamping what we're using, our systems, how we're using it, our procedures. Is there somebody else who does something better than us? We currently have, I keep calling her the intern, but she's evolved not into the intern anymore. But she'll sometimes speak up in meetings and get embarrassed, but her suggestions, they help with efficiency leaps and bounds.
Yeah, yeah.
So it's crazy. We actually have different sessions with her. The more you know, we call it, which could be a copyright issue, but she likes to instruct us on different processes and ways that she uses the computer that maybe we're not aware of. But
Interesting.
yeah, we are revamping our processes. We are looking into, obviously with InsuredMine, it's our learning curve, but we have three different silos. We have our benefits department, we have our commercialized department, we have our personalized department. We all
Hmm.
have different procedures. Our personalized department's on a different floor, and our benefits department's on a different system. We have not found an effective way to be able to cross sell. Even I think 90% of our business has not been cross sold, just because
Wow.
the different silos and how we operate and the different mentalities. And little by little, we found a way for this system to be able to unify all of our departments. The tough part is getting everybody to use it because,
Yep.
again, I mean, that's, one department, personal lines is, leaps and bounds using it, no problem. Commercial lines is getting on board and so is benefits. But once we have mastered that, I think that's going to be our big communication. I've been also teaching everybody about AI under my better judgment because everybody thinks I'm a genius when I write emails sometimes.
Ah, yeah, love it.
I have to give up my secret and I'll let them know that I no longer take 2 hours to write an email and I can do it within 15 minutes and be intelligently, being able to communicate intelligently with either other customers or other employees
Hmm.
or even our carriers. So we are grasping every bit of technology that we can. Again, I said there's different generations in our office, but not even generations, it's different mentalities. Getting everybody to grasp it and use it at their pace is a little bit difficult, but important.
Yeah.
So we're constantly, updating our procedures, updating our
Mhm.
systems, and encouraging people to use the different systems to
It's
be
good to
to,
hear that, you guys are already so open to, as you said about this intern, that was fascinating to hear that, you guys are open to learning from whosoever. It does not mean that you got to be a CEO or, somebody top in the totem pole on this, rather than, hey, somebody's as new as an intern, that's a that's a great side of a learning organization. So fantastic job on that. So,
yeah. I want to
um,
say the best ideas have not come from me. I will not take full credit. I think the best
oh,
ideas have generated from somebody within this office that I've encouraged and inspired to speak up.
and that is the key as a leader, is to create that culture, that allows that kind of ideas to be generated. Otherwise, people will just look for their, and try to be in the corner, and, hey, I don't want to speak up.
Exactly.
So where leaders should focus their efforts or energy in the business, today, now looking at what, there's a lot of things changing every day. So what do you think as a leader, or what is your constant thinking where you want to spend your energy?
So, uh, there's so many. I mean, that's a loaded question. I want to spend my energy in many different ways, so I do have to consolidate. Um, but I think we get commended a lot because of, if you look at our office, we have the majority of us are under 45,
Wow.
and we hire green, and pretty much, I mean, I want to say like 80%, I want to say 90% of our office has either started not knowing anything about insurance or has started at reception. So we always
Wow.
joke that everybody who is in a higher senior position is they start at reception at one point. So we do
Nice.
take a chance on people who don't understand the insurance industry or what it's capable of, and we do invest a lot of time in education on mentorship. So I think as far as that's concerned, a lot of people are scared because it is an investment. You're probably not getting any ROI for 3 to 4 years on a new producer. But when you do have that ROI, it's somebody who has been instilled your culture, that has your good practices, sometimes your bad habits, because I have taught some bad habits within the company. I won't lie, but I think that that risk is definitely worth the return in the long
Yeah.
run. Because I mean, I'm I guess mid age in this agent and in the industry. I'm 43. And I think there's still some people I know that are working in their 80s. But so I'd like to think I'm mid age. But I think that people that don't realize that we need to get more
You are
youthful.
darn young, so it's not even, yeah.
So I
So,
don't feel like it sometimes.
uh,
But I think we do need a lot of youth. And it is
yes.
a tough investment, but I think it's well worth it when somebody does spend the time to do so.
Yeah, no, that's fantastically said, in terms of, and then at that point, it's they don't have to unlearn things that they have learned at other place. They are learning what you have taught. So it's well deeply ingrained in their philosophies of being a part of an organization. So it's, yeah.
Absolutely.
So now let's switch on to another very key aspect of business, which is data. How important is data, and what are some of the key metrics that you look at on a probably daily or a
No.
consistent basis?
So data it's been actually one of those funny, ironic things in our office because again, our agency is from 1876, so very very old before computers. But the data that has gone into our systems have been when computers started. So we have
Wow,
learned.
when was that?
I couldn't tell you. I know I was on a DOS program, and I know that. I mean, you know personally that we're on probably one of the oldest systems that Vertifor has created, and it's archaic.
They
And we
bought
have
it.
not. Oh yes, Sajida, we have not switched. We've tolerated, and we realized a lot too that a lot of our data that we've put in were in the wrong places, weren't pathed correctly. So again, data has been this ongoing process with our agency. But again, it's something that the more you have, the better you will be. The more knowledgeable, the more informed you'll be, and the more communicating. I'm sorry, more communication that you could process. I
Yep,
think telling somebody happy birthday when everybody else might have forgot their birthday that day from their insurance agent, it may just brighten their day.
of
So
course.
just having that birth date, just having a little bit of information about somebody goes a long way.
Yeah.
And I'm an educator, so I love information. I read policy forms, so I believe in data.
Mhm.
And how that transpires now is the more that we collect. I'm training somebody right now. I'm mentoring somebody in the commercial lines production portion, and that's my number one thing. Just ask any question if you have that person on the phone, that anything that you could possibly think, or just let them speak and just
Yeah,
take as many notes, record the call, do whatever you have to do because they will indulge you with as much information as they possibly can and brag about their business. And I love it. I love when
yeah,
somebody's inspired and they talk about their business, but also every little bit of that transpires to data.
yeah,
And most of it's usable. Some of them we don't. Some of it we don't want to use, or we don't want to know too much information. But at the same time, it has been a huge part of what we do. And I think now that we do have all of this technology, we see how important it is to have it incorrectly, and how to have correct data, not only in the right spot, but
mm,
in the right mindset and the right direction of what we're trying to accomplish.
yeah. It's fascinating. You mentioned that hey, just to be on a call with somebody and learn. It's such a easy and a smart way to learn. I'll take my example here. 6 years ago when I started InsuredMine, I knew nothing about insurance. And I'm very proud of the kind of knowledge I have gained in this 6 years. And the credit goes to each of you guys. I knew nothing, but I would jump on a call with one of the prospect or a client and just be there and soaking in all day long. That's how I got here. So you are absolutely right. In just, and that's one of the best way to learn.
And I appreciate that too because a lot of times when we do talk about your system, when somebody says it's just insurance, they're always floored. They work with no other company except for insurance, and I think it's a
Yeah.
really good spot. There's a lot. I mean, there's a lot of things that can go in there, and there's a lot of potential just in our
Yes.
industry alone.
Yep. Yep. So let's move on from data to your. Let's talk about so much changing in the industry. We talk about hard market, we talk about the premiums going increasing, and then carriers cutting down on stuff. Interest rates has not been favorable. How do you guys see this at this point of time, and what's your read on this current, and what's that inflection point at some point of time in future?
Oh, it's tough. It's a loaded again, another loaded question. There's so many things happening at once, so it's not in one insurance area. We used to be able to segment and say, oh, auto rates are tough or personal lines is tough. it's across the board. It's We saw it happening, so I think if we didn't know something was coming, we were blind to it. We didn't know how everything would hit at once, I believe. So I mean, if you watch the news, you see one catastrophe after another, and so you know if it's national, those national carriers are really going to get hit. If it's regional, you know those regional carriers are going to start to step back. But I think, on top of the catastrophes with all of the property claims that came with it, you had these automobiles being made with all this technology in it. So when you bump a bumper, it's not bumping a piece of steel; it's bumping a machine
Tech. Yeah.
and basically a computer. And
Yeah.
a computer is a lot more expensive to fix than a bumper that's steel.
Yep. Yeah.
So I think that the insurance world or the carriers just they didn't keep up. They were trying to compete in a world where they didn't want to fall behind because they'd be obsolete, but they couldn't keep up with the rate of the rate of technology.
Changes. Yeah.
On
Yeah.
top of that, I mean, inflation. We saw it starting in COVID when it was, a lot of manufacturers stopped producing, and then something gets harder to get. There's a lot of people that were laid off or didn't have enough labor, and so when a building is demolished, to rebuild it is twice the cost. And a lot of building owners don't want to hear that. They look at their
Yeah.
building of what they purchased it at, and that's not the it's not the data, it's not the right factor anymore. So I think
Is
all of those things lining up was
yeah.
it's tough on top of the interest rates, and money was cheap in a couple of years ago. So when
Right.
reinsurance companies didn't up their rates, it's because they had a lot of money to play with because they had a lot of cheap money, and now they have to catch up, and it all is the domino effect. And it's very extremely hard to explain to a client because it's a lot of it's not their fault. It's just
Yeah.
not.
Yeah. So, is there anything you have to change in your agency business model, process, or people conditioning that for adjusting to all of this?
I think change somewhat, or I mean, at the same time, us being consistent. I think a lot of our producers or a lot of our team members in our agency, they understand that insurance can be bought anywhere. It's a piece of paper and it's a promise, and basically that person has to trust you and understand that you're going to do the right thing for their business, for their health, for their life, for their home, and as long as that person understands that you're always going to protect them, then I think that we didn't really have to change our model. We did have to make sure that we prepare and that we communicate far enough in advance that we prepare our clients. So that's a little bit tougher. On top of that, I mean, I don't like to throw anything or anybody under the bus, but a lot of our carriers are understaffed, and we're not able to do our job as well as we used to because of the slow rate of the turnaround time. When we do get a rate increase or we get a cancellation or non-renewal, it's last minute, and which is just a trickle effect, and it does make us look a little bit bad with our clients. But we do try to have those conversations far enough in advance, so we do have to react a lot of the times more than we like to.
Yep.
But as far
Yep.
as being prepared, I think it's just more communication, understanding your clients. On the other side, though, we do capitalize on it. I'd be lying if I didn't say that there's a lot of agents that might not be able to be caught up that way or have enough time to react the way that we do. So we're able to go after certain clients and ask them, have you talked to your agent? Do you understand it? And be able to talk to prospects the same way that we would talk
Yeah.
to our own clients.
Interesting. All right. So, what's your end game? Let's say start with end in mind. What does that look like?
How was I born and how will I die?
Well,
Well,
yes and no, but
my end game. I mean, as far as my end game, I haven't really considered it.
okay.
Everybody here knows retirement is not an option for me. I always want to be. I mean, whether
You're
I'm,
like that workaholic Wonder
I,
Woman. I'm gonna
I
just
am,
keep doing
I,
this.
I always, I feel like knowledge keeps me going. Talking to people and sharing my knowledge really helps inspire me. And keeps me busy. It keeps me on a good path, mentally, physically, health wise. So I joke with them. I say if I'm annoying you, I could be picking the fuzz off the carpet here. Just please don't kick me out. I don't plan to retire. I plan to help as much as I can. I don't. We do not plan to sell our agency. That's one of the biggest fears of a lot of our employees. It's part of our. We have a speech every year Again, we like to be transparent, and it was a fear of a lot of people in our office for a while because they kept seeing it. We will
Yep.
not sell to an equity company. We have no intention to do so. Again, I'm 43. My sister's even younger than I am. So we have a lot of years in
Yeah.
us.
Yeah.
And this industry is a good industry. We believe
Yep.
in it. We were raised in it. Aside from our being fourth generation in this office, my mother's father owned an insurance agency, and they met through insurance functions. So
Oh my
we're way
God,
in
you guys
the
are just
industry.
insurance DNA everywhere.
Yeah, and I tried to escape it, but again, I don't think the industry is
That's
going anywhere.
fantastic, though. Yeah.
Yeah. As long as the industry is around, I'm around, and I don't think it's going anywhere. There's so many different avenues in this industry. So I really hope that we can maintain. I hope our agency makes it to fifth generation, whether it's my own children, my
Oh,
sister's children, or children of people in this office. I
yeah.
mean, I just hope the name keeps carrying on, and that's my end game of any way, shape, or form helping in that manner.
Oh no, that's fantastic to hear that legacy continuing. That's what more can you ask for? All right, as we get to the end of it, we'll do a quick rapid fire on three or four basic questions just to get you going, warmed up before we wrap up. All right. You mentioned about, you mentoring a lot of folks over the years. And so talk to me about somebody who has mentored you or, somebody who has had the most impact on you.
Oh, I've had so many mentors. And I mean, again, my father was a great mentor. I wouldn't say he mentored me in the position of the CEO. He was a man of the policy. He mentored me on walking into a building and counting ceiling tiles to know a square footage. He wanted me to check if they had sprinkler systems, if the sprinkler tat or the tags on the fire extinguishers.
So he was
So
the
as
risk management guy.
he was meticulous about it. So as far as information and the data that you talk about, I mean, we think of computers now with data.
You know,
I mean, the accordion files that we had in this office, any one of them that was his was is fully stocked, and
uh,
we still pull them out and are able to win old accounts because of that. So
uh,
I think as far as being a mentor in the insurance capacity, he was definitely my mentor.
mhm.
While I was studying for school and passing my licensing, my grandfather, my mother's father from Auto State
Uh,
Agency, he was my biggest mentor. He always broke things down in layman's forms. So if I'd ask what a certain coverage was or to explain something like coinsurance, he would explain it in a simplistic way that now we would go to AI to do. But
yep.
he would tell me exactly what it was as if I was in kindergarten, which was, it helped me understand the whole insurance world. And then as far as running an agency and a lot of the operations was probably my uncle, again, Otter State Agency. He was big into acquisitions. They have 12 different branches.
Nice.
He knew a lot more about juggling those type of operations. So he was a good mentor when it came down to the nitty gritty and understanding a lot of the bigger picture on how to run an agency. So I think
It's just all around you.
being a woman, I had three men who really
Uh,
mentored me.
I was waiting for that name as hey, a grandma or somebody
Yeah,
there.
I mean, work ethic. If you want to talk about work ethic, my grandmother
Yeah.
she worked in the office until she was kicked out. So the fact
Wow.
that I don't want to retire is 100% her blood in my veins.
Yeah.
And she was always an
That's
inspiration.
awesome.
And I mean, my mother watching, I mean, she was in the insurance agency as well, and she was my greatest life support. So
Wow.
as far as being a good mother, being able to balance work life with operations of running an agency, she was definitely my inspiration there. So I think it was
Wow.
it was both parts.
Yeah, right, right. I was just messing with you. Yeah, no, that's so amazing to hear. That you got that kind of a support you needed to be where you are, and just growing up from this position. Fantastic. Last question. Talk to me about any network association or user groups that you are involved with today.
Whew. So we are part of a national alliance called ISU.
Mm-hmm.
They have been, I think we're on our 12th or 13th year. There are a bunch of insurance agencies that all, we're basically, I call it like a sorority or fraternity. We all
Okay.
bond together. We're not owned by
Uh-huh.
anything. We're just part of a club that we all belong together,
Hmm.
and we do not compete against each other. There's a
Nice.
select few in each state, and it's been such an amazing and inspiring group. I have friends in 50 states that I
Wow.
write business through. I refer business to them, and they have the same standards as we do. They take care of that account like we would. We take each other's advice. We've become very, very good friends. But
Awesome.
also, the group does help add value, inspire. They do introduce us to really good grade A vendors, which we were introduced to InsuredMine through them. On top of that, I am part of a bunch of different councils for our insurance agencies. Good intel. I provide them good intel in return, so that's helpful. Our agency is part of the Big I. We are
Hmm.
part of the Big I in New Jersey, but also on the national side. My husband and my sister they're both chairs on the National Alliance for the Big I, where they go down to Washington every year, and they're always talking to the politicians about what
Yeah.
laws and fighting the good cause about the insurance
Yeah.
industry and
We
how
need
they
several of them for sure. So thank you for doing
and
it. Yeah.
we're PIA.
Awesome.
I'm part of the Metro Builders
Yeah. Yeah.
Association. I can keep going, but it's
No, this is fantastic too. No, no, it's just a flavor of understanding, hey, what associations, because it's good to see that, it's not just, hey, I'm all heads down trying to do my business rather than be a part of a larger community. And it's an exchange of ideas, exchange of leadership, thoughts.
and we're
And
not
it's,
just in
it's
the
fan-
insurance industry either. So I mean, as far as Metro Builders, a lot of times I'll do talks or I'll help. I'll go to meetings of theirs. It's a builders organization, so we'll talk about
Mhm.
forms, proper coverages
Nice.
for them to have. So we like to give back to the communities as well. So there's a lot of different
Nice.
alliances in there as well.
All this fantastic area, and I'm sure we can continue this for another 30 minutes. This is nonstop and so much to learn. So I really appreciate you sharing about yourself, about your agency. I don't think I have met a CEO fourth generation yet, so I'm pretty thrilled to know all of that. So thanks for sharing,
You have to
and
let me know if
and
you
I'm sure
do.
was that.
Oh, you have to let me know if you do. We could start a new club, a new alliance,
There you go. Yes.
a third generation
I
club.
I believe there is one I've heard of in Alabama, but I'll have to do my research on it. But that's for another day. But thank you again for being such a wonderful guest and sharing all this information. So appreciate all your time on this.
Thank you for having me, and thank you for being interested. I mean, I think
Yes.
it says a lot about your company that you're taking the time to learn more about us, and what we've accomplished, what we're hoping to do in the future. So I do appreciate it.
Thank you.